Falling down is rising up. Rising up is falling down. No rising up, no falling down. Rising up is rising up. Falling down is falling down. Ha! Snow falls down, waves rise up. So this is Hokusai's Great Wave, a very famous print, and in it there's a giant wave that's curling over 3 boats that are going across Edo Bay, carrying fresh fish to market as the sun rises. In the background is Mount Fuji. And foam from the wave is falling on the mountain as snow. In our house, we have a Great Wave apron in our kitchen, Great Wave drink mats in our dining room, and Great Wave cushion in our living room. And they're all gifts to my husband, Roger, who is a scholar of Hokusai's work. And over these years of living with this picture, I've come to see how it's a very good teaching about how a life of practice can help in even the most challenging of situations. So 3.5 years ago, my husband Roger was diagnosed with a brain tumor. One minute we were out walking happily in the sunshine, and the next minute his foot started to drag and he sort of collapsed. And by the time he got to hospital, his right leg, right foot, right side of his body, right arm, completely weak and useless. So, sudden, very quick change of situation. That's like the great wave in the image, which is, can represent a just sudden change of situation coming at you, and what are you going to do? And also lots of emotions that come up around that. So then he underwent brain surgery and radiotherapy and chemotherapy, and he got strong steroids and other drugs, some to control seizures and other bits and pieces that went along with this disease. And this was quite a challenge because we were always 2 healthy people, just going along, living our normal lives. And suddenly we were in this world of sickness and death. Hospital, surgery, you name it, all the different things that go along with that. And it was just a matter of how do you deal with that? So the last 3.5 years have been very much like being on a retreat, non-stop retreat. And in fact, I have come to see, as we probably all know, that our whole lives are actually a retreat anyway. But it really hit home for us. And I began to look at this picture closely, and there are these 3 boats. And the boats each have oarsmen in them. And the men in the boats are all bending forwards, and their oars are locked, and they're acting as one, and they're just trying to get through the waves. And they're seasoned professionals. They do this job every day. But Hokusai doesn't tell us what's going to happen next. But they just are trying, and they're all sticking together and just keeping going as best they can. So I see that as representing Sangha, the power of Sangha. And Roger and I have certainly experienced that in many forms. First of all, there's the Sangha of the 2 of us, Roger and I, going through this situation and continuing to go through this situation to this day. And then there's all the medical professionals we encountered, the drug manufacturers, the reflexology person, the acupuncture person, you name it, the many, many people who've all been taking care of Roger and myself in this situation. And when you think that each of those people also has their own networks of connectedness, it's actually amazing. It's just an infinite Sangha that goes out in all directions. And so we aren't alone in this situation because we're completely supported by all these people doing their jobs and being supported in turn by other people doing their jobs. And we even had a friend in California who wanted Roger to be the beneficiary of a Hindu avoidance of death ceremony in India. So she sent us photographs of priests in white chanting and offering prayers and libations over the course of a long day as part of, the Sangha. So there was no limit in terms of space or time even to how this worked. So I really can connect with those men in their boats and how they're just going forward, and they all have a really strong idea of what to do, and they have a clear direction. We have to get through this water if we can. We don't know if we're going to make it, but we're going to try. And again, that's just like Roger and me. And also, I think it's interesting that while Hokusai doesn't tell us what's going to happen next, there's a sense that there's a lot of really strong try-mind. So the outcome, in some ways, is not so important as the trying part. And we connect very strongly with that. The boats themselves are like our practice, I see it anyway, like the Zen forms that we have. Like the boats, they're sturdy and they're fit for all purposes, and they just see us through. So sometimes bowing is necessary, sometimes chanting is necessary, sitting, retreats, Kongan practice, all those things, along with our clear direction, have really helped Roger and I. And I don't know how we could actually have stayed in this situation the way we have without that strong practice support. And I know we both feel this way. And then in the background of the picture, there is Mount Fuji. It looks small, so most people just relate to the wave part. But for Hokusai, the Mount Fuji was the center of his own Buddhist practice life, and he had a mantra associated with it. And so it sits there, it's the still point in the picture, it's stable, it represents Buddha nature, and it's like, for us, it would be like don't know, our don't know mind, which may flicker in and out of our awareness, but is always there. And then you also have the foam from the waves falling on the mountain as snow. So although the mountain looks like it's far away from the drama, actually Hokusai is very clearly connecting it with the mountain. So from moment to moment to moment, we go forward with our practice, with our life. Sometimes the waves come and swamp Roger and me. Sometimes we get really, really angry with one another, or whatever emotion comes up. But we just try to stay connected to practice and to our don't know minds. And there's also an element of the dawn is breaking in the picture. And so the dawn is like illumination, so moment to moment, because this is very much the moment world that is being represented. Moment to moment, you just stay with what is and keep sticking with it. And when illumination comes, it's like, oh, well, we're just angry. So we'll just be angry until we're not angry. And, if we are frightened, then we're just frightened and we hold one another. Or if there are tears come, that's okay, we hug one another too. So it's all very, I was going to say very real, it's sort of very immediate, all of this. And also, I've noticed very interestingly that Roger doesn't label his disease. He doesn't use fighting words about it. He doesn't use, like, I'm going to conquer this thing, or I'm going to beat it, or I'm going to overcome it. He's not separate with it. In fact, he really doesn't use words about it at all. He just is with it, and he stays as curious as he can be in the face of the situation. And I think I do more checking than he does, actually. And sometimes I sort of say, well, how are you feeling right now? And he's like, I'm all right, or I'm fine, or, whatever. And it's very interesting to see someone in the face of a situation like this just be so completely with it. So he's a really, really good teacher for me. And I think that I just lost my train of thought. It'll come back. Yes, Hokusai doesn't use labels in this picture. He's actually saying, be careful about speech labels. And that's how that connects with Roger and his avoidance of speech labels. So in this picture we have the wave, which is falling, the foam is falling on the mountain as snow, but it's actually really foam. And there's a mountain of water in the foreground that echoes the mountain in the background, the real mountain. And then actually Mount Fuji itself is a volcano. So it has the potential to erupt as dramatically as the wave would do. And then when you think that the foam and the snow and the water and the waves and the clouds are all just water, then everything just stays fluid and you just really just kind of go with it, And I think that's very, very true in observing Roger in this situation, that to the extent that he doesn't get stuck, everything is pretty okay. And that's really what Hokusai is teaching too. Just go with it and keep flowing, keep rowing, keep just trying as best you can and see what you can do with it. So 3.5 years later, Roger told me the other day that he had been told by his oncologist that, hey, go ahead, make another movie, write some more books, just, carry on. It's like, oh, okay. And this was, a very serious diagnosis, so the initial diagnosis. So for the oncologist to say, whatever you're doing it just fine, just keep on going, is a wonderful validation of Roger and his practice and his life, I feel. So that's what Hokusai has been teaching me with this picture. Being with is going through. Going through is being with. No being with, no going through. Being with is being with. Going through is going through. Ha! Well, I've been through this speech and now we're about to go out the door and have some cake. Thank you.